Welcome to the podcast from the St. Louis Sportists, an occasionally smart, always irreverent look at sports in St. Louis and beyond. And now, your St. Louis Sportists.
Hello and welcome to the podcast from the St. Louis Sportists. My name is Ron Cook, and I am joined by Doug Lansdowne.
Good evening. Hope everybody's doing well.
Tom Mathis.
Great to see everybody.
And from an undisclosed location, Keith Farrell.
Hello, St. Louis and beyond.
Keith, you didn't bring a cake over. Jason brought a cake last week.
Oh, one's on the way. On the way.
All right. I'll have Willie ready at the front door. Joe Sperlin is not joining us this week, and his official reason he gave in a text message to me this morning is he is out with general fatigue. So, no Joe Sperlin this week. In this edition, the Cardinals have an encouraging road trip and a very uninspiring return back to Busch Stadium. USA exits the World Cup. Is this as good as it gets for the U.S. men's national team? And we're down to 8 teams in the World Cup. Who you got? The St. Louis Sportists are brought to you by First Coast Steel Buildings. Jason and his team will take your project from design to completion with a family-first approach. That's your project. Learn more at onestcoast.com, and we'll hear more from them later in the show. It was a blast having Jason in studio last week, Doug.
It was. That was a lot of fun. Had the soccer game going on, and you guys are eating cake, and you had a raucous crowd in the back there, and so it was a lively night.
Let me tell you, that cake was spectacular. So we thank Jason again for that. And tonight's last call is brought to you by Black Dog Consulting, LLC, here to help the one truck owner and the small fleet owner to grow and prosper. You can contact our buddy Dave at 417-217-9622. Black Dog Consulting, helping you retrieve bigger profits. We are on all the socials. And you know, folks, if you subscribe or if you hit the follow button, and that little bell, little like ding when the new episode comes in every week. It's just a fantastic thing. So X, Facebook, the Gram, TikTok. Hey, we're at 99 followers on Blue Sky. Did you know that? And speaking of socials, Tom, our international incident rages on. The Gen Cease reel on Instagram is now over 325,000 views. The comments, my gosh, I don't know how many comments, but it's really interesting how much the rest of the world hates us. I'm just going to say that.
It really is, and they hate the comparison to the Super Bowl. But, I mean, my phone will ding about every 5 minutes, it feels like, about somebody else commenting. And you would think by now it would have stopped, but no, it's still going.
Yeah, and you're right. It is. I mean, there were like 3 comments today, and I would say I delete about every 10th because it's just a little too obnoxious. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
But no, we've had some spirited banter, including that one gentleman, Jose something 987562. He and I have had a good little dialogue. So, but let's lead it off with quick hits. Doug Lansdowne, what do you have?
So the World Cup, it's kind of like when you have a sleepover with those cousins you never ever get to see, and you have a really good time, but the reason you don't ever see each other is because your parents hate each other. So I mean that's just kind of how all this has evolved and everything. And from a guy who follows zero soccer, I have loved every minute of it.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. There've been really great matches, including like yesterday, that Argentina thing. Wow.
When they cheated Egypt, you mean?
Oh, that coach was hot.
Being here and being able to see the games in our time zones,
yes,
that has been just perfect. And I know it's going to change, for the next, probably the rest of the decade or whatever, but it's horrible. I mean, you watch it in 2 a.m. Who's going to get up and watch it those times?
Right. Right.
We'll
Well, and
get a
we'll get
little-
into some of the viewer.
We'll get a little glimpse of it in the Olympics, right? Couple years.
Yeah.
So that'll
Yeah.
be the same sort of tournament format.
Yeah, that's true. And we'll get into some of the viewer numbers in a while, but they are just crazy.
Yep.
Tom Mathis, what do you have?
So it was announced today that Mizzou and Indiana is finalizing an agreement to play a game in Bloomington in December. It is just going to be one game. Apparently, no return game here in Columbia. But what I find interesting and really enjoying is that Dennis Gates has really gone and improved the schedule this year. In November and December, they'll now have a game against SLU here in St. Louis, game against Marquette in Chicago, a game against Kansas in Kansas City, and Nebraska in Kansas City. And they'll also play Pitt in the ACC SEC Challenge. So just those 5 games probably improves the schedule 500%, in my opinion. I mean, you're not going to have Norfolk State or, any other knockoffs. There'll still be a couple. And, everybody's got to have a few. You just don't have to have all of them. And they still have 3 or 4 more games that they're still trying to schedule. So, maybe they get 2 good ones out of that. But I just give him props. I'm not sure if he's doing it because of the expanded tournament or if he's doing it because of the recruits he has coming in. But whatever the reason, I'm glad he's doing it. It ought to be a fun season this year.
I'm surprised you're giving up on that budding rivalry with Alabama State,
Yeah, if I can, if they don't have any quad 4 teams on their schedule, I'd be extremely happy.
Yeah, it's going to be much better than their tour of the SWAC last year.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. Yeah.
I agree. That's a step forward. Mr. Farrell, what do you have?
Well, we're going to kind of touch on a few Cardinal rejects who could not hack it on the big team up here. So they had to take their tractors down to the farm and see if they can refine a few things. Thomas Shajacy, batting .244. He is leading the pack of rejects. Victor Scott's batting .203, 0 home runs, 18 strikeouts, 309 OBP. Poor kid Pozo, man. What a great story last year. He's not batting his weight. 197. Only 3 walks in 18 games. That's not exactly, working on the strike zone. And our buddy Nolan Gorman, who was down in Jupiter testing out the new swing, finding his new swing, is batting 125 with 2 home runs. And I wouldn't be surprised if those two home runs were his only hits. So he's a bust. Get rid of him while you can. It's kind of it's sad, but I think Keim Bloom and the rest of Cardinal Nation has figured it out. This is the year to figure it out, and I think they have what those for.
Yeah, it's I don't know if there's a term when you reach the end of the runway other than crash, maybe.
Boom.
Yeah, boom. Exactly. Exactly. Well, for mine, we all know that leagues love to experiment in kind of their minor leagues or their developmental leagues. Well, the NBA's doing one in their summer league, and it's the one free throw experiment. So no matter how many shots, if it's a 2-shot foul or if you're fouled shooting a 3, when you go to the line to speed up the game, you will shoot 1 free throw. And if you make that 1 free throw and you're fouled shooting a 2-point shot, you get 2 points. If you're fouled in the act of shooting a 3, you have your 1 free throw. And if you make it, you get 3 points. Now, the exceptions are last 2 minutes of the game and overtime. And you'll revert to the normal rules at that point. We've come a long way, Tom and Doug, from the 3 to make 2 that we enjoyed back in the late 70s.
Yeah, I remember those games. Yeah. And anytime you got to start adding exceptions and saying after the 2-minute mark or whatever, it's a bad rule, in my opinion. If you can't do it the whole game, don't do it.
Yeah. Doug, as you have coached basketball for decades, what do you think of this? And we were talking before we went on. You've seen it a little bit already.
Oh yeah, we've done this for years in summer games, with high school and stuff. And I don't like it in the summer. It's a trash rule. You do it to speed up the game, so it's not something I'm in favor of. And usually in those situations too, those games that are going on, you don't keep track of fouls. So some kid will foul 8 times, and you see somebody go to the line and they can't get close to making it. Well, hell, you just tell your kids, if he or she catches again, foul them, and then get ready to rebound. So yeah, I I see it. I see why they use it in high school summer league stuff. Like I said, when you have a bunch of games in one day, but I can't understand how it develops a player trying to get to the NBA at all.
Yeah.
So can I ask you, like, if you have a 3-shot foul and you miss the first one, do you still get the other 3 shots, or
No.
is it just the 1 shot?
No, that's it.
Oh, geez, that's
Yeah.
horrible.
Yeah,
It's a 3-point free throw, basically.
Exactly.
You should shoot from the 3-point line if you're instead of
Yeah.
the line.
Yeah, for sure.
No, that would be interesting if there are guys that'd be like, yeah, can I back up? Like 6 feet and take this from the top of the key?
Yeah, that's great. That's a goofy rule.
It is.
It is, but we live in a world of experimenting with all sorts of things right now. So I mean, heck, if we're going to start using machines for check swings, which is ongoing, who knows what's going to be next. Speaking of check swings, in the national pastime, your St. Louis Cardinals sit at 47-43, a mere 4 games over 500. 5-5 in the last 10. They're in second place. They are now 10.5. Or I'm sorry, they're in third place. 10.5 behind the Milwaukee Brewers, who they are battling as we record this on Wednesday night. They were 7.5 behind the Brewers last week. Now they're 10.5. And they're 3.5 behind the Cubs. Last week they were 2 behind the Cubs. And now here's the dangerous thing. 2 games behind the Marlins for the final wild card spot. Last week they were tied. Had a good road trip, Tom, and then the wheels came off.
Yeah, they really did. The offense was looking good. Pitching was good for a couple of those games. And then they came home and they brought up a bunch of minor leaguers to try to get through the first 3 games of this series against Milwaukee. I still don't understand what they were doing, especially knowing they had a double header. And, McGreevy said he was healthy. He was ready to go. But they pushed him back, and I really don't understand why. And then they didn't use O'Brien or JJ out of the bullpen or Soriano. So probably your 3 best relievers you didn't use. You didn't use the starting pitcher. I just confounded by what they did.
Yeah, Keith, the definition of a replacement level player is either someone you could sign as a free agent or someone you call up from the minors that's not like a top prospect. We saw it was replacement level pitcher day yesterday at Busch Stadium.
Well, it was certainly not a fun game to watch, a fun day to watch baseball. And I think that's what this year's been kind of touted the whole season is we got to figure out what we have. I don't know if the Cardinals know what they have right now because they had to piece it together. And it's, I think you can probably get rid of half that bullpen right now and bring up other 3 unrecognizable names, and they would probably do just as good of a job. It's just been a wacky season. I'll take it. It's more exciting offensively, so that's a good thing. The pitching, I don't know. I just hope we don't do what we did last year at the trade deadline and get rid of every trade asset that we had, and then we tank the second half.
Yeah. Doug, it's kind of an interesting day when you call up a guy, he pitches the first game of the doubleheader, and then you DFA him in between games of the doubleheader. I don't know that I've ever seen that happen before.
I think the thing that was so disappointing about the last 2 days is we have talked about how hard this team has played, how they've looked to compete, and those guys are playing their ass off. and they were not given a chance to win those games with that pitching staff.
Nope.
And I think that was disappointing. If you're one of those positions players that's having a great year and been busting your tail, you had to look out there yesterday and think, come on, man. So that's what was disappointing to me. So, and I'm still going to say, I agree with Keith. I'm not sure we know what we've got, but I really don't know if I want very many of them traded. I mean, just play the year out and see what happens. I mean, see who performs. If you're still scrambling, trying to get in that wild card, I mean, see how these guys perform in the middle of August. So it's been a bonus anyway, I think.
And even if you don't make the playoffs, being involved in a playoff chase is going to help these guys in 2028, 2029. Just having that experience will be good for them. So don't get rid of, some of your better players and just give away the season like you guys said.
And where there's been absolutely no noise is from the coaching. No one is criticizing Ali Marmol. No one's criticizing Heimblum. That's been the most quiet part of this whole season is there's been no criticism of those guys.
Yeah. Now, the one thing that I did see today, and I saw this from two very respected St. Louis names, Bernie Miklasz and Randy Carricker, they basically said that did we learn over the last, 2 days that winning is not necessarily the top priority in 26, which sounds like kind of a, at first, man, that's a statement that'll break through the clutter. But, Doug is there's longer term goals than just winning this year.
There is. Yeah. And, and you can buy into that. I understand what they're saying and stuff. So I think that's interesting what Keith said. For the last couple of years, it seemed like most of the noise was about Mo and Ollie, and what was going on. And like I said, I felt bad for those guys because they've played so hard, but good grief. Like I said a few weeks ago, I hate to give them credit, but my gosh, those guys at Milwaukee, whoever's in charge of everything up there, they should be the executive of the year, player development of the year. They lose no trades. They give no at-bats away. I mean, this is going on like 4 or 5 years now. We've watched this 3-4 years. I mean, they are a top-notch organization.
I think we should put them over healthcare and education and see what they can do.
I'm good with that.
And they bring up another top prospect at least once a year.
Yep.
And they did it this week. And there's always somebody they're churning and they're bringing somebody new in.
Yep.
Tom, one of the few bright spots yesterday was Herrera pulling a ball against Jacob Mizorowski for a home run. He pulled it to the extent that Horton was wondering if it would stay fair. Now again, this is the guy that throws 104 miles an hour, and Herrera pulled a home run. And according to Brendan Schaefer on his pod today, Herrera was preparing to face him by going into the pitching machine and turning it up to 107 to 110 and taking his cuts.
Good Lord.
I remember people using it putting curveballs, but I don't ever think I seen anybody put it up that high to try to catch up to it.
They said that he was using a softer ball just in case one, went askew, because I don't think you'd want one of those in your rib cage.
No.
It has. It's been an interesting couple of days, and with the trade deadline coming up, we're talking about, who all is available, and we'll go back to Bernie again. He rolled a grenade into the room last week, Keith, when he was talking about trading Masyn Winn, basically saying his offensive numbers have gone down every year. He's banged up. We don't know if this knee's chronic, and kind of asking the question: is his value at an all-time high right now? And you've got this Wetherholt kid that played shortstop in college. Keith, what was your initial thought when you heard that?
Well, anytime you can improve your team, I say you got to really think long and hard about someone like Masyn Winn, because are you really going to be that much better for the long term? And I don't know if that makes the Cardinals better. When you think, and we kind of grew up in the Whitey ball era where you wanted your defense up the middle, your strongest defensive player up the middle. And by God, he's He's our Gold Glover. Let's face it, you can't get better than that. So, but this is a hitters league now, and offense sells tickets, and it's perplexing to say the least, because I think Masyn Winn is one of those marketable players. People connect with him. So you're going to have to really think really, really hard before that even if you can up your team by a little bit, I think Heim might have to think twice about that one with if he's still putting fans in the stands.
Yeah, and then Tom and Doug, that led to the conversation. Derek Gould got into his chat about, okay, third base seems to be a problem. Well, do you move Wetherholt there? When Arenado left, hey, Wetherholt might be the third baseman of the future, and then you could plug in Torres, or you could plug in Fermin at second. It's like we're playing Stratomatic here, Tom.
Yeah, we really are. And, like he said, we grew up in the Whitey Ball era. Having that double play combination of Weatherholt and Winn, that's almost like Tommy Herr and Ozzie Smith. I don't mess with that if I'm the Cardinals. I keep that together. Weatherholt's a very good hitter, but I don't know if you get the power and the slugging out of him that you want from your third baseman. And I know we're not getting it right now, but you want a Scott Rowland type, or somebody who's going to hit with power over there. And Weatherholt's going to lead off and probably hit 25 home runs a year, 25 home runs. But he's not the guy I want at third base. Second base, he's an all-star. I don't think he is at third base.
Doug, where are you going to play him?
He's going to play right where he's at. And Wynn's going to play shortstop. If you're going to trade anybody, you trade Burleson and put Herrera at first base, don't you?
That's not a bad idea, because he needs a position, unless you're just going to commit to him and say he's my designated hitter every day.
Exactly, because he can't throw anybody out if he catches. He just can't do it. So, I don't know.
Again, the last person he threw out was Juan Soto. So,
but also you got to look at the pitching ERA when he's pitching.
Yeah,
it's almost a full run below what the other guys are.
Yeah.
So even though he's not throwing anybody out, he's being pretty effective with his pitch calling.
And Crooks has looked overmatched lately.
Yeah,
he has not looked good in the batter's box.
It's a shame that we didn't have John Lester pitching to Herrera, because I don't know if anyone would have ever. I think people would have stolen the Cardinals blind in that situation.
Yeah, they've been stealing home.
Keith Farrell, our buddy Nolan Gorman that you mentioned earlier. I mean, we're reaching the point, and we had a really good conversation. We posted the reel of us talking about Gorman, and we had some spirited conversation with some of our friends and followers. And I kind of threw out, how close is Nolan Gorman to following the Dylan Carlson path, where he's just going to get released and bounce around, and a team will go, hey, we can fix him, and then they release him, and then another team says, hey, we can fix him, and they release him. What do you think?
Nolan Carlson, Colby Rasmus. He's I think you mentioned at one point he's our 4A player. He's too good for AAA, not good enough for the major leagues, and I think he's someone else's problem in my books. We have given him so much latitude to play third, DH, bat against lefties, bat against righties, go down, come back up, go down, come back up. My patience has run out, and I think he just needs to go and clear the way for someone else.
Yeah. It's like one of those situations where, in corporate America, everyone just kind of realizes, hey, it's time for us to go our separate ways. Speaking of going our separate ways, Doug Lansdowne, did you see that 7 of Major League Baseball's 76 full-time umpires accepted buyout offers and are going to retire at the end of the season, including a number one name on the list, C.B. Buckner? Do you think he had kind of taken over the Angel Hernandez spot as that ump everyone knew that was really bad?
Yeah, I think I think everyone on that list has probably had a rough year on the ABS. So, yeah, it's it's surprising to see that many of them take the buyout to early retirement. But yeah, for sure.
Yeah, when I see Marvin Hudson and Brian O'Nora, I'm like, okay, yeah, we're getting there. Connor Griffin, my pick for Rookie of the Year, is out for 8 to 10 weeks with a finger injury. That certainly, Tom, that certainly helps JJ Wetherholt's Rookie of the Year chances, don't you think?
Yes, it does. Griffin's been effective. I don't think he's been nearly as good as Weatherholt's been. So I think Weatherholt has a pretty good lead on at this point. So unless Griffin comes back and just tears up the baseball, which I'm not sure he will, and that's another thing where he's come in and he's playing shortstop, so he's got to play shortstop and hit, where JJ's playing second base. It's a little bit, I'm not going to say easier, but it's not as difficult as shortstop.
Right. Yeah. A little less wear and tear, probably.
Yeah.
Doug, my dear sweet mother would, there were 2 times that she would look at me and she would use a phrase, and she would just look at me and say, "It's like Little League." And that was when you'd walk someone with the bases loaded, or when something would happen like in the Kansas City game last night where they made 3 errors on one play.
Yes, and they won the game
16-12. Yeah,
I
great
think
score
that
there.
Of all the things that you look at that and that play and how it unfolded, and you're just looking, you're like, what? Huh? What? And then, and they win the game. So yeah, I don't know. Of course, like, Washington still has a winning record, and they have the worst fielding percentage of everybody in baseball.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know.
Tom, it reminded me of that classic highlight you can find where Vin Scully calls it when Hershiser's out there and the Dodgers do the same thing. They like throw the ball in between bases. It was almost like that.
That's exactly right. The first baseman, he threw the ball to the dugout. I don't know where he's throwing. He threw the ball to the dugout. It's like he couldn't decide if he wanted to throw it to third or home, so he just threw it to somebody else.
Folks, if you need a chuckle, just Google Royals 3 errors on one play, and you'll enjoy it. It'll brighten your day.
You got to ask how many people Steve Cohen fired after that game, though, because to lose that game after that's embarrassing.
Yeah, it is. So MLB correspondent at large Doug Lansdowne filling in for Joe Sperlin. What's going on around the league?
A few things. Atlanta is 7-17 in their last 24 games. They're still in first place. The Cleveland Indians are 1 game out of first place. The only move they made the entire offseason was they brought in Rhys Hoskins on a minor league deal, and they've been going 3 weeks now without Jose Ramirez, a future Hall of Famer. So, that probably pales in comparison to what the Dodgers and Yankees and some other teams did in the offseason. Aaron Ashby leads the league in wins. He's a middle reliever for Milwaukee. He has 12 wins. And then, I look at it like once a week, and I'm just still amazed. There are only 11 players with a batting average of 300 or higher.
Oh my gosh.
I can't wrap my mind around that stat and how it's fallen.
Yep.
Hey, Keith, remember when you used to get the Sunday paper and it would have the list of all of the batting averages, and there'd be like a whole bunch of people that were like hitting over 300?
The old agate page. I love that thing. I studied that thing. And it was that's the one thing about baseball. Someone was talking about that on a major league during a major league game, and how would Tony Gwynn and Rod Carew have a place in today's game? Would those proverbial 330 hitters, 320 hitters, we may never see a guy get 3,000 hits again without being able to hit 20, 25 home runs, because those guys might be buried in their minor league system for so long. So, It's amazing to me. I was watching some college baseball, some college World Series baseball, and I saw a little bit of attempted small ball, and these guys don't know how to bunt. And and these guys on TV, they don't know how to bunt. If you're playing baseball and you're on TV, is there anything more embarrassing than to show your little league coaches, I made it to the big leagues, but I don't know how to bunt?
The Brewers can bunt. The Brewers can bunt. Yes, they can.
They know how to score runs. How do you manufacture runs? Hit the ball to the freaking arch? If you're in Chicago, you got to hit the ball to Wisconsin? No. You got a guy on second base with nobody out, and you're at the bottom of your lineup. Hey, how about tap the ball to third base or first base side and get that runner over? These guys don't know what a productive out is anymore. And that's the part of baseball that I absolutely hate. Get on base, manufacture a run, and that's what moves the line as well, instead of hitting the ball out.
The best example of not being able to get the runners over or move, score runners is extra innings. I don't know how many games I've watched where they can't get that runner home from second base with nobody out. You watch it and you're like, this shouldn't be that hard. You're Major League Baseball players. You hit behind the runner, you sacrifice whatever, but you got to get that guy over.
But not just that, Tom, but when the inning ends and the guy is still on second base. You had three batters come up and make outs, and the dude is still on second base.
Yeah. I've seen a lot where the bases are loaded with nobody out, and they don't score, you know?
Yeah. Well, and Doug, I want to take Keith's point. He was talking about Rod Carew and guys that could actually hit. If you think about people like Don Kessinger and Ed Brinkman and Mark Belanger, who fought the Mendoza line. Yes, they were fine defensive shortstops, but man, could those guys, hitting like 241 and, with like maybe 1 or 2 home runs a year survive in this game?
They wouldn't. I guarantee you look at everybody's starting lineup tonight, and every single team, I guarantee you, has got somebody hitting like 180.
Yeah.
And most of them have got 3 guys hitting between 170 and 190.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
San Diego's got Machado batting 4th, hitting like 177. So, he's supposed to be an Hall of Famer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's one of those where if it happens in a video game, you keep playing him because you're like, well, he's got to get better, right?
He doesn't. But he's got 17 or 18 home runs.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's unfortunately where the game is today. And right now, we have reached the halfway point in the St. Louis Sportus podcast, and it's time to hear from the good folks at First Coast Steel Buildings. After the break, Team USA departs the World Cup. We're down to 8 teams who will survive and advance, and an NHL All-Star will not be ready for the start of the season. Find out who when we come back.
Are you in the market for a barn dominium, house, garage, man cave, carport, or hobby shop? Wondering how to get started or where to go? Whatever you are looking to design, look no further than First Coast Steel Buildings. Give Jason and his team a call at 912-314-4848. They will guide you through the process, designing your building to fit your specific needs and budget. Call them today at 912-314-4848 or get inspirational ideas and start designing your own by visiting them at firstcoaststeel.com. Again, that's the number 1, coaststeel.com. Their low-cost buildings are fully galvanized steel, providing you with worry-free, low-maintenance requirements, integrity, quality, and a family-first approach. First Coast Steel Buildings, 912-314-4848 or firstcoaststeel.com. Discounts for military and first responders.
And we are back on the St. Louis Sportus podcast, joined by Doug Lansdowne, Tom Mathis, and Keith Farrell. My name is Ron Cook. Joe Sperlin on the disabled list this week. I'm sorry, the injured list with general fatigue. The World Cup, U.S. men's team, very familiar end. Keith, you joined us here in the Thunderdome for that game on Monday night, and the U.S. men's national team did not show up.
No, unfortunately, they were just overmatched. It's sad to see the team, disappoint. You would think you would have a better adrenaline flow to, keep up with a pretty solid Belgium team. But let's face it, the European style of soccer is superior to North American style. From a defensive standpoint, you're looking at, we were clearly overmatched. You look at the European and African teams, they have oak trees on that back line and speed at every position. And we have speed. We don't have the size, and we got pushed around quite a bit. That game kind of when Matt Freese, our goaltender, stubbed his toe, led to a Belgium goal. That summarized that whole game, because there's a lot of people who figuratively stubbed their toes on that team. And there's not too many guys who can hold their head up after that game. Tell you what, first 5 games in that tournament, or 4 games in that tournament, fantastic, way to go. Played your hearts out, showed what we're capable of. But to make that next step, they got a few other things. And in my last call, I'm going to go through that with you.
Yeah, we'll look forward to that. As far as, was the nation watching? Yes, they were. 30 million viewers on Fox. That is a monster number. And then if you add 12 more on Telemundo, you're talking 42 million people, Doug Lansdowne. Back to your cousins that visit there. That's an incredibly healthy number of the 335 roughly million people in the United States tuning into a soccer match.
It is. So, like I said, you guys know far more about the game than I do, but it looked like the moment was a little too big. And like I sent a message and I said, good God, Belgium looks like they are really fast.
Yeah.
I mean, they look fast.
It's funny. You put that in the text, like about, or in our text chain about 30 seconds after everyone in the room said that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yep, Doug agrees. Around the World Cup, Tom, is Erling Halland kind of the breakout star, do you think, of this World Cup?
Well, people who watch the Premier League already know he was a star.
I know.
But the people, who are watching World Cup soccer for the first time, they probably are. I mean, they know Messi, they know Ronaldo, they know all the big names. But, he is amazing. And like he said, he's one of those trees out there, and he can do almost anything he wants on that field. And he's fun to watch.
Yeah. There's 2 videos I saw of him yesterday that actually made me laugh out loud. Tom, one you will appreciate, and they called it was just an ISO on him, and they called it Ovechkin on the power play, and he was literally walking down the pitch. Have you seen this one?
Yes, I have.
He was walking down the pitch and just standing there, and then all of a sudden he just like absolutely explodes and does a header into the net and scores.
Yeah.
Keith, that's how Ovechkin just stood there in the slot, and then, I'll one-time this in.
Those players know how to get open. They know how to find space. And for any soccer player wanting to better themselves, just watch those guys. Whether, Wayne Gretzky, had the old follow the puck. And being a student of the game, he followed the puck with that and noticed where, he needed to be to get the puck. And, it's certainly a gift. And all tournament long, what I kept saying to my wife, anyone that was around me, like, there's nobody on that back door. There's nobody. That ball squirts through that penalty box so often, and there's no one there to pick it up. And that's where the players like Messi capitalize. They have that sixth sense on the field. and that's what makes them special.
Yeah.
And talking about those guys, to me, that's the problem with the U.S. national team is we don't have that guy. Pulisic. I mean, he's supposed to be the best player, right? And he's not capable of that. Not that I've ever seen.
He certainly didn't show it in the World Cup matches, that's for sure. So let's take a look at the rest of the World Cup now that we've made it here to the quarters, and we'll do it with the Spurlin bracket. Number 1, France, that would be Ohio State. We'll take on number 13, Morocco, which is Michigan. We have Ohio State, Michigan, in the round of 8. Number 3, Spain, that's Indiana, will take on number 12, Belgium, or Ole Miss. Number 10, Norway, LSU, will take on number 4, England, that is Texas. Boy, LSU, Texas, that'd be fun. And number 2, Argentina, which is Notre Dame, will take on Switzerland. Number 16, Tennessee. So, Keith, who you like and who you think is looking good here to run the table?
I think France obviously is. I think they've displayed the most well-rounded game. France is my pick right now.
Yeah, Tom. Anyway, you going to go out on a limb there?
I'm going to stick with France too. Mbappe, he's incredible to watch, and he's got a lot of depth behind him. Argentina, they've had some scares, and I don't know, if they're going to be able to keep it up through the next couple games. So I kind of agree with Keith. France would be my pick at this point.
If they can get by Morocco, the last game Morocco played it, you could have argued it was they brought their rugby team. That game was so heavy. So I would, and I think France, and I think that's the game Morocco is going to have to play to beat France. They're going to have to play very heavy, very dirty, very blue collar.
Tom, Keith and I compared it to the New England Patriots game plan against the Rams in the Super Bowl.
A whole lot of holding and
they're not going to call everything.
No, exactly. No, you get the right ref, they won't call nothing.
Yeah, Doug, if you had to put down 10 American dollars on one of these teams, who would you pick?
Well, Notre Dame gets all the calls, but I
That's
think
Argentina.
I'm betting on Thor. I think Thor wins. So, and we have those guys in the United States, but they play tight end in the NFL.
Yes.
Wouldn't he be, and we were talking, that goes back to the conversation with Jen, where she was talking about how in America, the best players play other sports. And like I said, if he grew up in Wisconsin, there's no way he plays soccer.
No.
Yep. I'm betting on Thor.
He'd be a tight end. I'm going to take Spain because they have one of the best technical games in terms of just a suffocating defense and a good, just a good overall scheme. So I'm gonna go out on a limb and take the Spaniards. Doug, I have a question for you as someone, like you said, specifically because you say you don't follow the game. And again, this goes back to the visiting cousin thing. What do you think? Because I've heard people say that a lot of kids, this might be the first time that, they're kind of getting like a full dose of soccer over a number of days. What do you think in a place like, let's say West Plains, Southwest Missouri? Is this something that is actually gonna cause kids to, take a look at soccer, or do you think no, you're doing baseball and football and everything you've always done?
Oh, I think it will have kids take a look at the game, because I think it's caught their attention, and I think you have parents that have watched it and stuff, and I think social media is big on this, and I think, like Tom and Keith were talking about, we get to watch the games on our timeline. It's not 2 a.m. in the morning, and then you see all these people from the foreign countries that have come over. And then, when they lose, just the finality of it and how, we have our Super Bowl, we have our World Series, we have our NCAA championships, and they have the World Cup, and it only happens every 4 years. So, with the passion, and it means so much to those people. I think it will spark an interest. So I'm telling you, when I went in the room the other night and my wife is watching it on TV, I mean, that's all you need to know right there, because she doesn't know if the ball's inflated or stuffed, and she's watching the soccer game. So, yeah. So I've been amazed with the popularity of it.
My only issue is this happens every 4 years, and we talk about and say, is this gonna, increase the excitement about soccer?
True.
And it really never does. It doesn't carry over, and
Yeah.
that's the sad part. I wish it would, where there, more people would get excited about it, but they kind of forget about it until the next World Cup.
I think you're absolutely right with that, Tom. And I think this is a golden opportunity for MLS to take that baton and get some more big names into this league, create some more excitement. I mean, you can't get a bigger name than Messi down in Miami right now. So, who's going to take that baton? Who's going to be the next Messi coming over here? Who's willing to pay up for that? But if you can generate that excitement in the MLS, because the MLS, if they do nothing with this golden gift, they've missed a golden opportunity.
Exactly. And then, Beckham, he was brought over for that same reason, and they never capitalized on that. It was a while before they brought Messi in. And if they could bring somebody who's more in their prime of their career, Messi, he's the back end of his career, sadly. But, I don't think they'll ever complete exactly. That's the problem. You won't be able to compete with the money over in Europe.
Yeah. Oh, and it's like, I've been reading about Arsenal having what they're talking about their greatest offseason ever, because, they've had a good season. They have more money than they've ever had, and they're just like cherry picking people now. And it's like, oh my goodness gracious. And the amount of money that they're paying them is ridiculous. So yeah, that's going to be a little bit of a obstacle there. So let's quickly zip through some loose ends. Doug, John Rahm and Terrell Hatton are going to play in a PGA event. How are two live guys sneaking into a PGA event here?
This is the co-sanctioned event, DP World Tour and PGA together. So, and DP World Tour figured out how they could get live players back, play a minimum amount of events and pay X amount of money. So yeah, that's what's going on. So it's the co-sanctioned events, which supposedly they want more of, but it doesn't make any sense because they're going to shorten the PGA season, and they have all these other signature events. And the guys talk about wanting more time off, but the way that's structured, it's all going to be crammed in about 7 months. So I don't know how this new structure is going to work. It's going to be interesting. But yeah, that's how they're playing, co-sanctioned.
Confusing. We've all seen that meme of the guy, like, I guess they call it the murder board, where they've got all the string together, and he's like trying to explain everything. That's kind of what golf is starting to, be like in my mind with these new tours and, everything. Keith Farrell, Cincinnati football coach Scott Satterfield told The Athletic today that Texas Tech was among multiple schools that spoke with loose ends favorite Brendan Sorsby about transferring before their season ended, which you're not going to believe this. That's a violation of NCAA rules. Sorsby's agent denied contact. How many have we said that? Sorsby's agent denied. I think we've said that in pretty much every podcast in 2026. Keith, is this just a fact of life that, like, during the season that people are going to be contacted and there's going to be shenanigans going on behind the scene?
Oh, they've got extended family, friends, agents. I mean, how big of a staff do these guys walk around with, So, yeah, this tampering that's going on with these players, it's just a joke. And they have to do something better. There has to be some better oversight. But listen, in today's freelancing communication world, I mean, there's always going to be, a message going to get from point A to point B. So you really can't fight that. It's always going to happen. Call it the paper bag going through the McDonald's drive-through with a note in it. there's going to be something wherever. The NCAA can't fight this. They can't beat it. Everyone's going to deny it.
If you're Brendan Sorsby, should you just start like every day saying, "Hey, my phone was hacked yesterday. If you got anything from me, it wasn't me."
He's got a burner phone for every day of the summer.
And finally, Tom, Connor Bedard, he of the famous Michigan goal against the Blues, the Blackhawks star, the alleged next big thing, is going to miss the first month of the regular season. He had surgery last Thursday, an injury suffered during an on-ice training session. Boy, once again, details are sketchy, as they say. If you're going to be the next big thing, you need to stay on the ice, don't you?
First of all, I hate that for the Blackhawks. I really do. But, my worry about Bedard is he's a slight guy. He's not big. You got all these other guys. He's even smaller than Gretzky was. But Lemieux was a bigger guy. McDavid's pretty big. And Dreisaitl's huge. And Bedard, I worry about him being able to stay healthy and being effective. And then the Blackhawks, they haven't done him any favors with the roster. They haven't put anybody around him, to make him better, to help make the team better. And, if I was him, I'd kind of be upset. And I saw a video that I assume came from that training session, and it wasn't anything, huge that, you would have thought a lot, would been that bad. But again, I just worry about his size.
Yeah. He is in no way a big dude, and still obviously very young. He could still have a lot of good years, but yeah, you'd like to see him. He could add 20 pounds probably and still, stay on his game. Still do the things that he's there to do.
Exactly, and it's kind of surprising that the Blackhawks, they haven't done anything to make him, a little bit bigger. You think they just have him in the weight room working out? Maybe they have. Maybe he can't put on the weight or the muscle, but he's got to do something, or else I don't know if he'll ever be as great as they think he can.
Which, as a fan of the Blues, oh well.
Oh well, yeah.
And with that, we have tied up our loose ends, and it's time for the last call, brought to you by Black Dog Consulting. With over 38 years in the transportation industry, Dave knows where to look to find those pennies per mile that make the difference between just getting by and profit and growth. From one-truck operations to small fleet owners, he has a proven multi-million-dollar track record to help you retrieve bigger profits. Contact Dave at 417-217-9622 or David at blackdogconsultingllc.net. You can also check out his website, blackdogconsulting.net. Doug, what do you have for a last call?
We made fun of the Royals earlier, and we talked about some different baseball stuff. But how about a thumbs up to our old friend Michael Walker making the All-Star game? Yeah. 11 years in between All-Star game appearances. And he always seemed like he was a really good guy. So yeah. How about a salute and a thumbs up for him for making the All-Star game?
Yep, definitely agree.
He has battled and battled. Really good career too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, he was down and out too. There was no picking up the pieces at one point, and he collected himself, and good for him.
Yep.
Indeed. Mr. Mathis.
Jill's not here, so I'm going to make mine a double tonight. I'm going to start off with Justin Verlander announced that he is going to retire at the end of the year, which I think some people probably thought he should have retired at the end of last year, but okay, he got to try to do another year. But my point is someone down in Houston from the Houston Chronicle suggested that Justin Verlander was the greatest Astro pitcher of all time. And I thought about this, and I can name about 5 different players right off the top of my head before I would put Justin Verlander there. So I think these guys sometimes get in the heat of the moment, recency bias, and I think that is one thing. This is one example of that. Verlander was very, very good down there. He brought him a World Series, but I don't know if I'd say the best.
I will never forget the highlight of the All-Star game when James Rodney Richard threw Reggie Jackson the 94-mile-an-hour slider, and he said later, I had never seen anything like that before.
Right, exactly. And, the radar was measured differently back then, the pitch speed. Today, that might have been a 100-mile-an-hour slider, and he might have been throwing 105-mile-an-hour fastballs. And, Nolan Ryan, J.R. Richard, there's been a few guys down there. So,
yeah. Doug, the cruelest thing, I think, the cruelest yet most brilliant thing, and they only were able to do it for half a season because of JR's stroke, unfortunately, was Bill Verdon had Nolan Ryan and James Rodney Richard, but he would put Joe Niekro between the two of them. So if you had a 3-game series, you would have Nolan Ryan on Friday, Joe Niekro, and then James Rodney Richard on the following day, and hitters would be torn up for days.
Yes, absolutely. Yep.
Geez, that'd be horrible. My second thing is Keith talked about the Cardinal minor league system, and we talked about the pitching problem we had this week. Well, it kind of comes down to a roster crunch. They've got some pitchers down in the minors. Takoa Roby, he's coming back from Tommy John, so they still have him on the roster. But they also have Tink Hintz on the roster, on the 40-man.
On the 40-man?
Yes. And I don't know. It's got to come to a point where they got to give up on Tink. I had a whole lot of hope when they first started. I don't know if they messed him up by not pitching him enough, but he's just not getting it done. And I think this off season might be the year where we've got to do something about him. The roster crunch that they dealt with last week or this week, they can't do that again.
You can only put so many guys on the 60-day injured list.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. Before you don't have anybody left.
Yeah, that's true. Hey, Pedro Pajes, you're not looking so good. I think you might need to... Is that an impingement? Okay.
Loose bodies.
Yeah. Mr. Farrell, what do you have?
Well, to kind of spin off what we said a little bit earlier about USA Soccer, I heard a great interview with Landon Donovan about the state of the USA Soccer, and I just wanted to share a couple things. He said only 2% of kids who were playing organized soccer in America came from households that made less than $50,000. So meaning if you don't make $50,000, your kid's not playing. The USA Soccer in general is not developing a talent pool as they should. He went on to explain that when he was over in Europe, they would take their best coaches and put them with the 14, 15, 16, 17-year-old guys, develop them. That's where the coaches were going. Now, these clubs have to make money. There's no doubt about it. Coaches want to get paid, no doubt about it. But is it time for MLS or there's got to be some influx of money to help support USA Soccer and develop that talent pool. So I thought that was very eye-opening. This is a guy was one of the best players in USA Soccer history, and who lived it with his mother, who made $34,000 a year from a single household. How much more talent are we losing from those situations? And it's about time, and he's the right guy to help bridge that gap. And so I'm curious to see what the next generation of soccer is going to look like.
Yeah. Our buddy Jen Cease was on KMOX today talking about her daughters playing, and that the expenses for her daughters to play is their second largest household expense.
Yeah. Makes perfect sense. And you get that with other sports as well. I mean, but to develop
travel baseball for sure.
To develop the footwork and in soccer, let's face it, I mean, you don't have to have all that special equipment. So you're paying $150 for a pair of shoes, maybe $50 for top shin guards, but everything else, I mean, it's your feet and your head. That's what's scoring goals. And so you got to develop some good coaches that can coach the youth and relatively cheap, or find some sponsors.
Yeah.
And like St. Louis, I think St. Louis does a pretty good job with their soccer programs, but because you find soccer players all the time, but you just don't find that top tier, and that's what they got to develop, is that top tier player.
Doug, I always, anytime I get to quote the movie Blue Chips, I always like to do that. And Tom, what you said reminded me of the scene when Bob Cousy was making all the consecutive free throws. And Nick Nolte said, "We don't have the horses." And Cousy said, "You've got the horses, but you need thoroughbreds." U.S. soccer needs the thoroughbreds.
Yes,
and,
they do.
And by the way, and I think we've talked about it, but that scene called for them to trade shooting free throws like as soon as they missed, but Cousy made all the free throws. And so Nolte never got to shoot a free throw. So for mine, I like to introduce some lifestyle news into the podcast every once in a while. And our friends across the state in Kansas City are enjoying themselves with the World Cup, because a new survey has found that Kansas City leads every other 2026 FIFA World Cup host city in the United States when it comes to, and this is how they phrased it in the survey, hooking up. Nearly 6 in 10 Kansas City singles said they have already dated or hooked up with a World Cup visitor. And apparently, and I'm reading this out of the Kansas City Star, so please do not send messages to us. Apparently, Kansas City singles have preference for Argentinians. That's what it said in the Star. I'm not making this up. The survey comes from the online dating and relationship site datingadvice.com, and 86% of Kansas City singles say their dating or hooking up activity has increased since the tournament began in June, which is the highest level of extracurricular activity among all U.S. hosting cities. So good for our Randy friends over in Kansas City who are taking advantage of the opportunity.
That? I mean, come on. Right.
It's a survey. It's a survey. That's a survey.
Good.
There's all sorts of data here, Keith. 74% say the World Cup has made Kansas City a more fun place to be single. Yeah.
Kansas City is just trying to generate those poor guys over there. They're doing everything they can to come back from the loss of the Chiefs.
Yeah, just like us now, Kansas City has lost a football team.
Right.
So, on that taunting note, Doug Lansdowne, thank you, sir.
Notice I didn't say anything during that last segment, so.
Oh, yeah.
I really wanted to,
noticed.
but I didn't, so. Okay, thank you.
Tom Mathis.
Enjoy the next games of the World Cup. They should be pretty good.
Oh, should be a tension convention, Keith Farrell.
I can't wait. So hard to believe it's almost over.
And we will break it down on the next episode of the St. Louis Sportist podcast. We will see you next week, and until then, take care.
And that wraps another episode of the St. Louis Sportist podcast. Please like and subscribe to stay up to date on all the latest episodes. You can find these guys on all major podcast platforms. And thanks for listening.